How many years do you think India will take to reach world average? Or do you think we'll ever reach there at all? What are the prospects?
It will take several decades. Not to catch up with the high-income countries. That is going to take much longer. To catch up with,
Global average.
Yeah.
Talking about India's per capita GDP, which I started off with, I'm not talking about purchasing power parity, I'm talking of the actual number, 2,100. And its trend for the past few years, the world average at around 12,000. My question, which we discussed earlier, how many years do you think India will take to reach world average? Or do you think we'll ever reach there at all? What are the prospects?
Okay, so this is the catching up question. Very, very important question. Countries like India that have an income per capita that is well below the world average, they want to know, how long do we have to wait before we have the standards of living in India that we have, in the more prosperous parts of the world? If I was prime minister in a country, that would be a question that I would wake up every morning asking myself, right? All right, I'll give you a little anecdote. This question is of vital importance for people like me who have spent, much of his professional life at the World Bank, at the IMF, and so on. And a few years ago at the World Bank, we did a simulation, right? So it's an exercise, illustrative. We make some assumptions and we let the computers run and we see what they deliver. And I'll tell you, just bear with me for 1 minute. I'm going to have to share a few numbers with you. What we did is we compared the high-income countries, the Swedens and the Frances and the Netherlands of this world, where average income per capita is $41,000, a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, $41,000. And we looked at the low-income countries, where the average income per capita is $700. I will come to India in a couple of minutes, right, and tell you what the relevance of the exercise is for India. And so what we noticed is that in the last 20 years, the economic growth rate of the low-income countries has been twice as high as the economic growth rate of the high-income countries. So they're growing more quickly, and this is good. This is good because if this happens for the next 100 years, they're going to catch up with the, with the high-income countries. So what we did is we said, assume that this differential growth rate, twice as fast for the low-income as for the high-income, takes place, in the future. It's a working assumption. There are many reasons why that maybe does not happen, but let's assume that it does happen. The question is, how long is it before the low-income countries catch up with the high-income countries, right? That's a vital question. If I am a mother of 2 children in Nigeria, I want to know, should I move to Sweden, where my cousin lives, or should I stay here and invest in the future of my country and to try to make a contribution here? Well, it turns out that when you do the simulation, the gap, the difference between $41,000 and $700 rises. It rises for a long, long time because you're applying 2.6% to $41,000 and you're applying 4.7% to $700, which is a much lower base, right? So the question is, when does the widening gap actually turn around? And it turns out that it is in the year 2197. When does catch up take place? In the year 2226. In other words, 204 years from now, all right? So we've got ourselves a problem of divergence before we converge, right? So what about India? Well, to answer your question, India has an income per capita of 2,000, right? 2,000, 2,100. So it's 3 times the level of low-income countries on average. And India has been growing more quickly in the last 15, 20 years. I would say 7%, all right? Some years a little more, some years a little less. So those are good things, 2 good things going for India. The answer to your question is it will take several decades. Not to catch up with the high-income countries. That is going to take much longer. To catch up with,
global average.
Yeah.